We've got barbecue back here. You're all invited. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I am doing all right, Jared. How are you doing today?
I don't know. I don't know. Like, you asked that question and my mind went blank, so I just said I don't know because I don't know.
All right. Well, this is Collegiate Chaos here. We will be talking about last weekend's games here, Jared, and we had a couple of upsets here. We've had a couple of upsets.
Collegiate Chaos, Mr. Chaos himself, Mr. TeamChaos, is feasting this week once again. One very notable upset, a few close calls, and another pretty big upset. Let's get into it. Now, wait, actually, before we get into it, we teased something at the end of last show. We by the way, I just want to say, two things. One, we're recording this on Monday and we're releasing it on Tuesday. So in case you happen to be watching this on Wednesday, we're recording this on Monday. We're releasing Scarlet and Grade on Tuesday. We're releasing this episode on Wednesday. We're releasing this after the College Football Playoff Committee does their first rankings. Yep. But we are currently living in a world, Kyle and I right now, as we're recording this, are living in a world before the rankings came out. So I want to clarify that we have no idea what the first college football rankings look like ahead of our rankings on this show, even though we're releasing it afterwards. I just want to make sure
we're going to look either great or we're going to look like assholes.
No. If they disagree with us, they're wrong.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into it, Jared.
Well, actually, Kyle, the other thing, we teased something in regards to Iowa. We just learned, and that's when I remembered that we're recording on Monday, because in our timeline, we just now learned that Baby Ferentz will not be retaining his job at Iowa. And we teased at the end of that show, how many points would it have taken for Brian Ferentz to have, because it was in his contract. You explain it. You go ahead.
Yeah, so he needed averaging 25 points per game. Okay, so he needs to average 25 points per game. So far this season, scored 156 points, 156 through 8 games, 19 and a half points.
Okay.
Not where it's needing to be. So if he's wanting to get to that, it doesn't matter anymore because they already doesn't matter anymore. But if he were to try to get to that 25 points per game, Jared said, "Oh no, it's impossible. No, he's not going to be able to." No, they play Northwestern, Rutgers, Illinois, Nebraska at the all winnable games. If he averages 36 points per game, he would get right at 25 points per game. He needs to get to the magic 300 points, and he's at 156. So he pretty much needs to double that in 4 games.
36 points per game against legitimate components. I mean, these are Big Ten teams, and none of them are great teams, but none of them are, northern central Texas. None of them are, I was about to say Bowling Green, but Bowling Green's a decent team this year. None of them are Bowling Green, Kentucky. None of them are the Jackrabbits. So, my point being, Kyle, that averaging 36 points per game, especially in modern college football, by which I mean this year with new clock rules, would be very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since they're currently averaging 19 points a game.
Yeah. Is it impossible? No. Do I think they're going to get it?
No. God, no. I think it's impossible.
He was averaging more than 25 points per game after their victory over Western Michigan. But that big old fat 0 there against Penn State is it's
a death knell.
Woof. Yeah. Well, and especially the loss last week where they only put up 10 points to your Jared Golden Gophers.
Kyle, do you have this in a spreadsheet? Or I'm just curious if you could have done a really quick additional math if I asked a question, or if that's try. Just. I'm just curious.
Go for it.
I'm curious what it would be. Just Big Ten opponents. What's the average score against just Big Ten opponents? Take Utah State, Western Michigan, and Iowa State out of it. Of course, they didn't reach the 25-point mark against either Utah State or Iowa State either. But I feel like even that 19 points is being carried a lot by the 41 they put up against Western Michigan.
So through the 5 Big Ten games,
the Broncos, right? Western Michigan, the Broncos.
Yeah. Yes, 14.2 in conference.
14.2 in conference. Yikes.
All right, we spent way too much time talking about Purdue.
No, we spent way too much time talking about Iowa.
All right, let's move on. Talking about Penn State here, about Penn State just demolishing Iowa here. Beats Indiana 33-24 here. What's your take about this game here?
The game was closer than the 9 points it ends up looking like. Indiana took Penn State down to the wire on this one. One of the things that got Penn State out of this hole, however, was that they finally let Drew Aller throw the damn ball. Like they let him actually throw the ball deep a few times this game, which is not something they really let him do all season. And by the way, once they let him try, he wasn't bad at it. Let the boy play some football, maybe. But yeah, Penn State had an Ohio State had a bit of an Ohio State lull after this game, or for this game after Ohio State. So not a good showing for Penn State. Much closer than the 9 points would indicate.
All right. Looking here, what's another one here? Oh, our first victim, Jared. The first victim from TeamChaos. The Jayhawks.
Yeah. Upsetting
the Sooners 38-33.
Yeah. Oklahoma not good in this game. I mean, it's obvious. They lost to Kansas, who, I mean, Kansas is now 6-2. Did the AP rank Kansas, Kyle? Will we move Kansas up into the B tier after this game, Kyle? But only 2 losses on the year for Kansas. This is a very big win for them. This is not a bad football team.
No, but I was definitely surprised to see the outcome of this, though. Like it was definitely very.
Kansas jumps out to an early lead in this game, 14-0. Oklahoma starts to make a comeback. Then there's a lightning storm. So they go to halftime early. They come back. Oklahoma makes a big comeback. Then it just turned into a classic Big 12 game. Teams just start scoring points. Oklahoma just straight up let Kansas score it at the end of the game, towards the end of the game, giving Oklahoma a chance to, make one final march down the field. And, Oklahoma had an opportunity. It was kind of a Hail Mary, but it wasn't like a deep Hail Mary, right? It was It was pretty close. It was just a deep shot to the end zone more than it was a Hail Mary. But yeah, Kyle, we're running. Oh, I love the win probability when it spikes like that. How
Kansas?
How what was the lowest point for Kansas there?
Oh, I could not get the mouse to go there, but that's got to be right there at 99%. That's touching that 100 there.
Yeah. It's Kyle, we're running. This was one of our S tier teams. This was one of our last undefeated teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll talk more about that here shortly, but yeah.
We're running, and this was the last undefeated Big 12 team. Now, I don't think that we're going to have 4 undefeated teams in the playoff. I'm going to say that. We still have 5 undefeated Power 5 opponents anyway, left. It's starting to get down to the wire, though. Only 5 undefeated teams left, and one of them could get sanctioned. Although the NCAA never moves that quickly.
No.
Michigan, by the way, visiting TeamChaos this weekend during their bye week. Michigan had such a bad week, they got a visit from TeamChaos during the bye week. When you catch an L during the bye week, you know you had a good week. Oh, Michigan.
Yeah.
We'll spend 7 minutes top talking about Iowa for some reason, but when it comes time to talk about Michigan, we just don't have time because it's just too much.
It is just too much. All right.
Maryland with a disappointer against Northwestern. I'm shocked Northwestern's 4-4 at this point. I would never in 4-4 heading into November. Never would have thought it.
No, I thought they'd have like
thought it.
One game.
I mean, I think we actually did a prediction at the beginning of the year, and I think we said 1 or 2 games.
Yeah. So expectations well above what we thought it was going to be. Yeah, that's
Maryland was always fake good. No, I think Maryland is dependent upon an air raid style offense, and they don't have a lot on defense. And whether it be, Oregon during the Chip Kelly years or USC right now, when you are dependent upon a timing based, kind of like Ohio State the 3 years previous. If you're completely dependent upon a timing based passing attack and you don't have a defense and you don't have a running game, you can put up these amazing stats sometimes, but then just fall flat on your face some other time. That's what happens with these teams. And that's what happened with Maryland this week.
Yep. All right. Looking at some other
Kyle,
games
the
here.
The lone winner from the Research Triangle, from the Twin Cities of North Carolina, an area you know something about. It's Raleigh Durham.
Okay, never heard it called that, but
it's what they call Minneapolis St. Paul. I'm just saying, but you're all, because it's Raleigh and it's Durham. Like that's why I said of North Carolina. I didn't say the Twin Cities. I said the Twin Cities of North Carolina. Almost a complete failure by the Raleigh Durham area this weekend, except NC State. Taking out Clemson, dropping Clemson to 4-4. For those of you keeping track at home, that's the same record as Northwestern. NC State, a team that I was pretty sure was terrible, and I still don't think is like good. Don't get me wrong.
No.
Up to 5-3. Up to 5-3 for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, definitely really surprised in that. Especially they lost a lot of talent on that defense. They lost their quarterback in the transfer portal there. Yeah, very surprised that the Wolfpack here is 5-3 here.
Texas beats BYU. Another.
We didn't even say it. It was against Clemson. More
No,
on
I did.
Clemson a little bit later.
Well, no, I did say it was against Clemson. It's just, Kyle, it's not that I didn't say it was not against Clemson. It's just that Clemson is so bad at this point that it's not even noteworthy when they lose anymore. Which is just the best. Clemson's just irrelevant now. Which is just the best.
Isn't it?
Klubnik is garbage. I would like to see, listen, we have to be careful because now in the age of the transfer portal, we've seen guys like Penix, like Bo Nix, go somewhere else and find a ton of success. And I wonder if Klubnik's one of those guys. I wonder what would happen if Klubnik transfers to Washington, what he looks like next year. Or Oregon, what he'd look like next year. That's all I'm saying. He's a really highly recruited guy. And for what it's worth, Uyunglele is having, or, you know, not doing bad in Oregon State right now. So be careful who you blame there. Kyle,
did you have on your bingo card, Jared, that, okay, maybe you have Florida State number 1 in the ACC, but number 2, Louisville, number 3, Virginia Tech, and 4th, the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech.
No, I did not. Speaking of Louisville and speaking of the Raleigh-Durham area, Duke catches
out.
You know, it's not that it's a surprise L. Louisville's a good football team. Louisville's now 7-1. Louisville. I'm not sure where the AP ranked them, but they were. I'm sure they have to be in the top 15 now. They got to be getting somewhat close to the top 10. Where did the AP rank them this week, Kyle?
Let's look. Let's look at the rankings.
It's literally Monday night, and neither Kyle and I have even looked at the AP. This is what a time in college
15th.
Football.
They're 15th.
Yeah, but yeah, the surprising bit here is that Duke got shut out by Louisville, 23-0. Duke going down in spectacular fashion. It should be noted, I don't think they had their quarterback in this game. I assume they did.
They did, yeah.
I didn't watch this game.
Leonard was in it, yeah. He definitely not that good. He was 9 for 23, 121 yards.
So he played, but he probably shouldn't have, is what you're saying. Again, I didn't watch this game all that closely.
Louisville's defense, it's just played just that well.
Nah. That's a shutout. Can't be. Oregon took Utah to the woodshed.
They did. This one surprised me. I thought this was going to be a lot closer, but yeah, Oregon taking out their frustration.
Yeah. It's really weird since the Washington-Oregon game, which, for anyone not paying attention, Washington won that game. But Washington's looked kind of bad ever since, and Oregon looks like they're out for revenge ever since.
Yeah.
And and at this point, it's becoming very obvious that we're going to see them play again in Las Vegas, San Francisco. Where are they playing the final Pac-12 championship game this year? It was in San Francisco for a lot of years, but then I think, did they move it last year? I forget.
I don't know. Well,
actually, is it played on campus? I think they played on campus, maybe. I forget. Doesn't matter. Point is that I think we're going to see Oregon and Washington play again.
If it were to end right now,
yeah,
based on conference, record, it is Washington and USC.
Right. It's Washington,
but that's just because USC has one more victory in conference. But
do me a favor.
Either way, they play each other. They play each other here in a few weeks, though. Just
do me a favor. Look up USC's schedule and let the folks know what USC has coming up in November.
Let's see here. Oh, this weekend they play home to Washington.
Uh-huh.
And then they go on the road to Oregon.
Uh-huh.
And they play home to now ranked UCLA.
Yeah. Well, UCLA's been ranked for a few weeks now.
Oh, yeah.
But,
so of their last 6 games, 5 of them have been ranked.
Yeah.
Going back to Notre Dame, and Utah. And then California was in a 1-point victory because Cal decided to go for 2 to try to beat USC. That was almost 3 losses in a row there for USC.
A game, by the way, really won by USC's running back and not. I'm just gonna toss that out there. Georgia destroys Florida. Georgia's looked good in 2 games this year, and it's against the 2 teams they've played with an actual pulse. Kentucky was barely ranked. Florida could have been potentially ranked. They're a top 40 team.
It was not close. What was it going into the 4th quarter? It
was never competitive.
36-7.
This was never competitive.
No.
Georgia destroyed Florida. It was never ever competitive.
It's
just interesting that we've seen Georgia look. This is only the 2nd game this year that Georgia's covered, and I don't know. Maybe they're just showing up against good teams. We still have yet to see them play an actual good team, though.
Well, and they're playing.
I'm not giving up on Florida. Yeah, I said that in the 1st quarter.
Well, Georgia.
That's not something I said during the first quarter.
Georgia's schedule next 3 games: Missouri, who's ranked 14th. That's surprising. Ole Miss, who's ranked 11th, and then Tennessee, who is ranked 19th for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, so they'll get a chance to get their signature win. And by the way, then they will play presumably Alabama, maybe LSU, the week after. So, a tough road for Georgia coming up.
Well, here's
I think it would be great if Ohio State could have waited till November to actually play a team, but Georgia gets to do Georgia's thing.
How chaotic would this?
By the way,
be,
not
Jared?
The week after, because they play Georgia. They play Georgia Tech in the last game, right?
Georgia does, yeah. How chaotic would this be, Jared? LSU beats Alabama this weekend.
Okay.
And then you have LSU beats Alabama. Alabama beats Ole Miss. Ole Miss beats LSU. You just got a big ole.
That's just a Tuesday in the ACC. That's just how they have always done things in the ACC. And the Big Ten West for that matter.
Yeah, true, but that's
all right.
That's
Miami barely beats Virginia. Kyle, who the hell is Virginia? Virginia lost their first 5 games of the year. Then they played an FCS school. Then they knocked off North Carolina, handing North Carolina their first loss. Spoiler alert, not their last loss. And then they took Miami down to the wire. What the hell? If it was worth investigating, I'd investigate it. But it's not. Washington,
I just want to
not looking. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
I was going to say, I was just going to look at the other top 25 teams here. So Florida State took care of business against Wake Forest. Texas took care of business against. I guess I shouldn't say take care of business. It was still. Yeah, I guess so. It was 21-6 going into. It
wasn't the
quarter.
Dominant performance, but it was also never really in doubt either.
Yeah.
Kind of like Ohio State, Wisconsin. Although Wisconsin,
Yeah.
considerably better team than BYU.
Another chaos here. Hey, warned you guys a few weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago. The Wildcats get a team chaos here, taking down Oregon State, 27-24.
Yeah, this is Oregon State's second loss on the year.
This is the second top 25 victory for Arizona in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah. Wasn't the other team fairly highly ranked too?
19th.
Yeah.
19th is Washington State.
Arizona has more quality wins than Georgia right now. And Michigan combined.
They lost by 7 to Washington. They lost by 2 to USC. Dominated Washington State the previous weekend. And then they beat Oregon State by 3. Very competitive these last 4 weeks here.
Yeah, they brought in a freshman. They brought in a freshman quarterback. That's what changed.
And then they played ranked UCLA this week. Jeez, 5 weeks in a row for Arizona.
Arizona single-handedly ending the Pac-2. Washington State and Oregon State were all like puff-chested. Look at us. How dare you leave us behind? And Arizona just ended them.
What was here? So Ole Miss took care of business of Vanderbilt. Notre Dame destroyed
Pitt.
And I mean destroyed Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Another team chaos moment here. Jared was alluding to this earlier. Georgia Tech beating North Carolina 46-42 on a 22 point scored in the fourth quarter for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, that North Carolina's second loss in recent weeks. That was fun while it lasted. The whole Duke North Carolina thing was fun while it lasted.
Yeah.
At least Kansas is still hanging around. Like, we still got one of those basketball schools hanging around. Michigan's still hanging around. Some of those basketball schools still hanging around.
Yep. We mentioned USC beating Cal by 50-49. UCLA takes care of business over Colorado. Ranked Tulane beats Rice by 2. James Madison stays undefeated. And the Falcons of Air Force stays undefeated.
Kansas is a football school now. Yes, they are.
And those are all the top 25 teams there, Jared.
All right. Let's move on to our rankings.
All right. I got some movements I want to do, Jared.
Okay. Let's start with the S tier. Oklahoma.
I got some movements.
Out.
Oklahoma with their first loss. Yeah, A. They stay in A. They
100%.
Drop them to B.
100%.
It wasn't like they got destroyed. They lost to a team that
are they now ranked?
That only has 2 losses, so it's not a terrible loss.
Did the AP rank Kansas?
They did. They're 22nd now.
I think they're better than that, but okay. Spoiler alert, I want to move Kansas up into B tier, but we're not there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State, we have at number 1. Do you want to keep Ohio State at number 1?
Yep.
Florida State at number 2. Would you like to keep Florida State at number 2? I think you had them. Did you have them at 3 last week, but then Austin and I moved them up to 2?
I think so. Yeah, I think I have Florida State at 3 this week. Yeah, I have Florida State at 2. Consistency is the thing with Florida State. They have a really good resume. Looking here with, well, actually both of their ranked teams are not ranked anymore.
We're already at like a half hour, and I think we just agree that Florida State's number 2. Washington has looked a bit sketchy, but they're still undefeated. They still have a incredible resume win over Oregon. The only way I'm willing to move Washington out is if you're willing to replace them with Michigan. Are you willing to replace them with Michigan?
No.
Okay. So with that being said,
I mean, this was Michigan's best weekend. So
no, it wasn't. With that being said, move Georgia up into S tier.
I agree. That is what I got. Ohio State, Florida State, Washington, and Georgia.
Does Georgia stay at 4? Could we make the argument that they should surpass Washington, or are you happy with Georgia at 4?
What's their victor? What's their best win here?
They have 2 decent wins against Kentucky and Florida. Neither of those wins are nearly as good as Washington beating Oregon. Washington, who's Washington's second best win, would you say? You just take a quick look at Washington's schedule. Who would you say is Washington's second best win? I want to compare 2 wins against 2 wins. Georgia's best 2 wins, Kentucky and Florida. Washington's best 2 wins are Oregon and
let's see here. Not Michigan State, not Cal. It's either Arizona or Arizona State.
And that was Arizona. Was that before Arizona brought their freshmen in? Or after? You know?
That was.
What week was that?
No, that was when Noah came in. So it was that game.
So okay.
Yeah, but that's the freshman.
Yeah. So you could make the argument that Georgia's has a better 2 wins, but I don't want to get that granular with it. 3 versus 4, I think.
Yep. So A tier. I think all of those stayed A tier. I think you move Louisville up to A tier now.
I totally agree with you. 100%. All right. Anyone else you want to move to A tier?
The only other one you could possibly, but I don't really like their resume. Even though Tulane is ranked and they did beat Tulane, is Ole Miss. That's the only other one you could potentially put in A tier.
Their 1 loss is to Bama, which is a good loss. Who would you say are their best 2 wins?
Tulane and LSU.
It's not a bad pair of wins. I say we move them into A tier. And I say that because Austin and I, if I can reset B tier real quick, Kyle, we kind of had B tier set up into 3 separate tiers here. Kind of had the group of 5 guys sort of hanging around here. We had an upper B tier and a lower B tier. I think it's very worth noting that the 2 other teams in our upper B tier lost this weekend. Kind of separates Ole Miss from the rest of B tier, which makes me want to move them up into A.
I'm fine with that.
So with that being said, Utah and Oregon State, are they donezo? Or are we moving them to C tier?
So this is Utah's second loss.
Also Oregon State's second loss, is it not?
Also Oregon State's second loss. Yeah, I'm kind of tempted to put them into C tier. Man, B tier is going to be so empty.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. We might split up. We might end up moving Ole Miss back down. We might split it up. We'll see how it goes. So we already have. We also have Louisville up in A tier.
Notre Dame stays at B tier.
Yeah.
UNC is down to C tier. Then all four of those teams won. Air Force, James Madison, Liberty, and Tulane all won.
Okay. UNC deserves M tier now.
Mm-mm.
That Virginia loss was embarrassing.
But what was the expectation for UNC, though?
I think they were a team that we thought could have gone to the ACC championship game. I feel like that was on their plate. I agree with you, though. I agree with you.
Just keep them at C.
Okay, now hold on. I think there's a couple. I think Kansas belongs in B tier now.
All right, that's fair. Does Tennessee go back to B tier?
Make the case. Tennessee is...
We moved them down to C tier the previous week because they lost to Alabama. And then this week they beat a halfway decent Kentucky team here. That's my case.
Would you say that's their best win on the year?
Kentucky?
Yeah.
Yeah. They lost to Florida.
So they have that in common.
And then Georgia. They lost to Alabama.
Yeah, they also just lost to Florida, who Georgia woodshedded.
Mm-hmm. I don't know who else you put up here. I'm looking at all the other 2-loss teams here.
Yeah.
You want to put Kansas State up there? I think Tennessee is more deserving to be in B than Kansas State. So I'd say no to Kansas State.
Okay. I'm just going to trust you on that.
Does Oregon State stay in B tier? Yep, they have that loss to Arizona, but they have wins over UCLA, who's ranked, and then wins over Utah, who's ranked. Does Oregon State stay in B tier?
No. Maybe. I don't know. Utah just got run off the field by Oregon. Utah has not had an offense the entire year. Odin said that earlier. Utah should be in C tier. Offense has been bad all season. No camera. They're just not the same without Cam Rising. So
what about UCLA then? Would you put UCLA up in B tier?
I think so.
They have their best victory is against Washington State. Their 2 losses were against Utah, which they lost 14-7, and then they lost to Oregon State 36-24. Their best victories mentioned Washington State, and yeah, definitely this weekend against Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado's their second best win. Is that what you said?
Yeah. They also have wins over Coastal Carolina, San Diego State, NC Central, and Stanford.
Yeah, when you said Colorado was their second best win, you unsold me on it.
So like I said, I think B tier is very lacking this week here.
Okay. LSU,
which is fine. It's fine.
We put LSU in M tier after they dropped 2 games in September. They've looked good since. They play Alabama this weekend. So if you want to say, no, they lost 2 games in September, they had high expectations, F them, they can leave M tier if they beat Alabama, I'll agree with you. But if you want to say, no, they've looked good since, I say we move them into B tier.
Jared.
Yeah.
Who do they play this weekend?
Alabama.
No, excuse me. Who did LSU play last weekend?
Last weekend? Jared, LSU and M is crazy. I'm sorry. But it's just us. I don't know what, but it's just us means.
It just is.
Oh, it just is. They got put into M tier because they were a team with SEC championship, or at least SEC West buzz, and then they went 2-2 in September. That's how they got stuck into M tier. It's just
3-2, but
okay, 3-2 in September.
I mean, you could say 2-2 because 2-2 in FBS.
Okay, 2-2 in FBS in September. That's how they got when you have incredibly high expectations and you fail to reach them, that is how you end up in M tier. That's what they did. Now, they play Alabama this weekend and they have a chance to get back out. They're still in the running for the SEC. They're playing Alabama this week and they have a chance to get out.
My opinion, they played the Black Knights this last weekend. That doesn't do anything for me.
Sure.
Now, they beat Alabama. Okay, yeah, they skyrocket up to B tier then.
Yeah, I agree. But not winning the West does not equal M tier. It is when that's the expectation and you drop 2 games in September. I'm sorry.
What's one of our sayings, Jared? You only have one Mario Man?
You only got one Mario Man. And they spent they spent their extra Mario Man and the life they had in the month of September. That's how you get into M tier. We do not put teams into M tier lightly. We do not take teams back out of M tier lightly.
But Jared, can we create a new tier here?
No.
Can we create an M- and put Clemson in M-?
I mean, I can move Clemson to the right side of the board.
There you go.
Okay. There. We can call that just I'm not editing the document live, but we can call that M- if it makes you feel better. Speaking of M, Trojans. Thoughts?
Not yet.
Not yet. Kyle says not yet. Again, we don't put teams into M tier lightly.
All right. So I think this is it. Missouri. Do you want to put Missouri in
Missouri?
B tier?
I knew I was forgetting someone. Yes, let's put Missouri.
Missouri's ranked 14th, has 1 loss here. I definitely think they should be in B tier. So their best victories is against ranked Kansas State and then ranked Kentucky.
Yeah, I'll count that. I will count that. I think that's a good call. Kyle, do we have any M tier candidates for this week? Anyone deserve to be an M tier?
No, I don't think so. I think this is good here. Got a jam-packed weekend. This next weekend here. There's a lot of great games. I have a feeling we may see some more TeamChaos this weekend.
I mean, we'll have some top 25 teams lose at the very least.
How many do we have there? It's 1, 2. Is that it? Only 2 rank on rank 3. 3 rank on rank 4. I keep adding more. There are 4 rank on rank opponents or rank games this weekend.
Count them out. What are they?
Kansas State, Texas.
Okay.
Missouri, Georgia.
Okay.
Scrolling down, Washington, USC.
Okay.
And LSU and Alabama.
Yeah.
We got two of those games are SEC on SEC.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. Texas is interesting. How are they supposed to be? How long is Ewers supposed to be out? Are they supposed to get Ewers back for that game? They didn't have Ewers against BYU. I'm not sure how long he's supposed to be out. Does anyone in the chat know? Because they could pick up a second loss if they don't have Ewers back for that game. Thanks, Trey.
He has a grade 2 AC joint sprain in his throwing shoulder.
And that happened 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's going to be back. Well, it'll be 2 weeks from when the next game starts. I don't know. Our resident almost doctor, Gangland, is not in the chat, so I can't ask him. But yeah. All right, Kyle. I think this is our board. I feel better since you reminded me about Missouri, but I don't think we're missing anybody. Chad, are we missing anybody? Trey says he's done. What does that mean?
Yours.
Yeah, but like, what does? It wasn't the he part I was confused about. It was the done part. Do we have actual reporting on his timetable? Because the last time I saw, which was before Saturday's game, they said like no timetable for return. Oh, you just think he's finished. Okay. I mean, I don't know. I would like to think that if Texas got like into the Big 12 championship game that he'd play. If he's able. Like I know a lot of Ohio State fans have a lot of feelings about Quinn Ewers and, feel how you're going to feel, but I don't think he's the type of guy who would just pack it up and go to the NFL just cause.
Yeah. All right, Jared, I think we need to end it there. So,
yep. I still feel like I'm forgetting someone and it's bugging me, but
no, I went through all top 25 teams here.
Okay.
I mean,
we addressed all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think the only ones that's in the top 25 would be Oregon State, which we talked about, Utah, who's in the 25, Tennessee, UCLA, and Kansas State.
Yeah, who I kind of have all those teams you mentioned plus a few other ones, kind of off to the side in C tier a bit. So we'll keep an eye on them.
But nope, that's it. That is.
Wouldn't blame him to get healthy and prep for the draft. I would. If your team has something to play for, especially as a quarterback, where you're supposed to be a leader. If your team, and I'd be one if Texas were to lose this weekend and then lose again, and they have 3 losses and they're out of the hunt in the Big 12, and he says, you know what, I'm going to focus on the draft, then I wouldn't blame him. But if they're still if they still just have 1 loss and he's ready to go, then, and I found out as an NFL scout that he packed it in and left his team behind. That would not sit well with me. All right. That's it, Kyle. That's the end of the show. Do you have anything? I don't feel like doing plugs. I'm tired. Do you have anything in Kyle's corner?
Not really. I think this is a long episode, so we're just gonna go ahead and end it here. Unless you want to talk about Harbaugh.
All right, Kyle. What percentage chance do you give? I just want a number because we're running long, so I just want a number from you. Percentage chance that Jim Harbaugh is the head coach of Michigan on the sidelines next year, September, whatever. Kyle's going to think about this. He's going to leave some air in the podcast, which he knows upsets me. So I'm going to talk for a second to make sure there isn't empty air in the podcast.
Yeah. I'm going to say 5%.
I think it's 0. I in the Discord, I wrote 3 separate.
Oh, Connor did put 20%. Okay.
I put 3 separate outcomes. I put an outcome that I think was lenient. I put an outcome that think like lenient but realistic. I put an outcome that I felt like was strict but realistic, and then I did like a realistic one that there's like my best guess one. And in all 3 scenarios, Harbaugh's not the coach at Michigan anymore.
Before today, Jared, according to Tuesday the 30th here, before today.
There's new news every day.
Yeah. Before today, I would have said it was a lot higher. I would have said like 33% chance. I was going to say like 33% chance.
Yeah.
Before Tuesday, October 30th?
It's Monday, October 30th.
That was a long weekend, Jared.
We don't normally record on a Monday. I feel you. It's fine.
Monday. Yeah. After news and things seen on Monday, 33% down to 5%.
I mean, yeah, and I think Kyle's talking about the news that they
multiple things.
Michigan pulled. Apparently there was on the table a contract extension that Michigan took off the table.
And then listening to Harbaugh during his presser today too. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
We'll see. I mean, I wrote those 3 scenarios, and for what it's worth, I think my best guess right now, this is my best guess on how this plays out. 1, and we joked on, I think it was on the Monday episode. I've already forgot, or the Scarlet and Gray episode. I've already forgotten. But I joked that I don't think that, I made the joke that, will Michigan even get into the playoffs because they're facing sanctions? Prediction number 1, the NCAA just straight up doesn't move that fast. Maybe the committee decides to punish or downgrade Michigan, but I don't think the NCAA will. They have never moved that fast. They have never, ever moved that fast. Prediction number 2, Harbaugh won't be the head coach at Michigan next year. Prediction number 3, he'll get like a 5-year show cause penalty from the NCAA. So if he and Michigan haven't already parted ways by that point, I also think prediction number 3, Michigan will straight up preemptively at the end of the season, they will just straight up preemptively start punishing themselves. After this season is over, they'll start self-imposing penalties. Included in that is them firing Harbaugh or moving away from Harbaugh, or maybe it's not a quote unquote firing. Maybe it's a mutual parting of, I don't know, but they'll self-impose a penalty that includes Harbaugh not being the coach anymore. I think he'll still get a show cause penalty.
Sparty has a better odds of,
like we did in 2011,
getting Urban to be the head coach.
Yeah.
Than Jimmy Harbs staying at Michigan.
No, I actually disagree with that. I know I said 0%, but I think the fact that Urban Meyer being the head coach at Michigan State is like negative 0%, which is literally the same thing and isn't possible. And I regret saying that. Like we did in 11 and 12. I think what we did in 11 and 12. Okay. There's not a good precedent for what the NCAA is going to do against Michigan. There's just not a good precedent. We have not seen this before. But what I think you can draw is essentially that Harbaugh messed with the integrity of the game, which is just something you can't do. Oh, I meant the self-impose. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the self-imposing, yeah, and I know what you meant. But I think it's also it's a decent comparison, actually, because you have a head coach knowingly and decidedly cheating. It's one of the reasons why I do kind of point to Tatgate as a comp.
Every coach knew what was going on except for apparently Jimmy Harbs.
Yeah, right. Kind of like every assistant at Penn State knew. But apparently Joe Pod didn't. People talk about Michigan death penalty. You will never see another death penalty ever again. SMU wasn't good before they were cheating, but SMU literally never recovered from the death penalty. I don't think we'll ever see a death penalty again. But like there'll be a lack of institutional control. I think a 1, 2, or 3 year postseason ban is possible. Although I wouldn't say it's definitely going to happen. I think there'll be a multi-year probation. I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts. I've been thinking a lot about what's going to happen to Michigan. And I think I've heard rumors and I straight up just don't know if it's true. So this is a rumor. This is a rumor. This is a rumor. I don't know that this is true. About Michigan having practice footage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, if Michigan has access, I specifically heard Ohio State. Again, these are rumors. These are rumors. These are rumors. These are rumors. If Michigan had practice footage that they obtained illegally, that's worse than the signal stealing, in my opinion. And the signal stealing is already pretty bad. I think
good news, Jared.
I think Michigan's going to get hammered. I think Michigan's going to get, again, if I were to make a prediction, I think there's going to be a 2-year postseason ban. Harbaugh's going to get fired. He's going to get hit with like a 5-year show cause penalty. No, there won't be a death penalty. That's just, and by the way, all of this, Michigan's essentially already under probation for the recruiting cheating that they were doing in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That has to also be taken into account here.
It does, yeah, because they're already on a short leash, and yeah.
I mean, they weren't the fit. I need to say this. They weren't like actually on probation because the investigation wasn't completed. No probation was actually, like, the investigation there, as far as I know, is still ongoing. I don't think that's been officially wrapped. Brings back the death blow. No, there will not be a death penalty.
No, there won't be.
There will not be a death. The absolute worst case for Michigan, I think, would be like a 3-year bowl ban. I think that's worst case for Michigan, which, by the way, is still a lot.
Yeah, we're going to end this episode on a positive note, Jared.
Yeah, and the show on a positive note.
Even though as we are posting this on Wednesday, it already happened, but is the return of Tuesday MAC football. Tuesday and Wednesday MAC football.
Maction.
Get some Maction in, yeah. Every day there's football. But 5 of those 7 days are college.
Yes. All right. That's a positive note. Tonight's ending music will be Heart Attack Man. Kyle came in clutch with a surprise Kyle's Corner. Tonight's ending music, band called Heart Attack Man. The name of this song is called 9 on Your Bedside. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, this is Heart Attack Man.